All right, everyone, welcome back, and thanks for joining for our first session. We're now going to do our first snack break. Unfortunately, this is the only snack break where we aren't featuring an actual snack, but I wanted to take the time with my colleagues, Kirsten and Emily, to welcome you to the lay of the land around the Austin CPG scene. So it's my pleasure to be here with Emily Keeley, the Executive Director of Naturally Austin, and Kirsten Ross, the Managing Director of SKU. I mentioned both of these organizations earlier, and they're fantastic partners of the tripod that the three of our organizations make up here in the Austin community, and then help to bridge into the national Better For You CPG space. So let me introduce these fine panelists that you have with me today. Kirsten is the Managing Director at SKU. She runs a world-class program that accelerates emerging CPG brands through the thriving community of serial entrepreneurs, industry experts that is the backbone of SKU's 14-week intensive program, providing emerging companies with access to industry leaders, key retailers, and the tools necessary to accelerate smarter, faster growth. Kirsten oversees the selection of 6 to 8 participating companies every year. She curates the 40-person mentor group of the CPG experts and manages more than 30 advisory mentors that are part of the extensive SKU network. It's an extraordinary program that she's going to tell you more about today, and how to get involved if your brand might be eligible. And then Emily Keeley, also with us, is the Executive Director of Naturally Austin. She has more than 20 years of experience in public relations and expertise in strategic planning and the execution of communications programs for an array of food and lifestyle consumer brands. Emily specializes in media relations, planning and executing events, cultivating and maintaining relationships with key media, as well as writing materials that get attention. On top of her past PR experiences at large agencies, she also has the breadth of knowledge and gray hairs, as she says, of owning her own pie business. So Emily, Kirsten, welcome. As you guys enter the room, just a moment for housekeeping. This is a time for our attendees to ask questions about what it's like and how to get more involved in the Austin CPG scene. So please submit those via the Q&A function in the webinar. I will be an upvote questions that you'd like to see answered by myself or Kirsten or Emily. The chat function is closed, but we really want to interact with you and make sure that you have the information you need to get plugged in. So with that, welcome Kirsten and Emily.
So good seeing you, Marissa. Thanks so much for having us.
Absolutely. So Kirsten, do you want to kick us off and tell us a little bit more about SKU?
Yeah, absolutely. So SKU is a consumer packaged goods accelerator that was founded here in Austin in 2011. And it really came about because there was this growing CPG ecosystem without kind of the foundational support to really help these brands. So SKU was really established to bring together all of the resources and the networks that were available in Austin. And it has grown into such an impressive program. We operate in 4 different markets, and we've seen about 100 companies go through our program since 2011. So really what the program is designed to do is to take companies that are already market validated with some revenue and points of distribution and take them to the next level. So we're looking for companies over $100,000 in revenue, in annual revenue, that have a great product with key points of differentiation and a good founder story. And we bring them into the program, which, like you said, is 14 weeks. And we cover so many topics, vision, mission, purpose, figuring out who you are as a company, into market intelligence, to the nitty gritty and the things that make a company really succeed, like operations, legal, kind of understanding your business model, your channel strategy. And at the end of the program, we do a large showcase day where we introduce the brands to just such a broad stage. Historically, we've done everything in person, and like 2020, we had to turn it virtual for this year. So we did a virtual showcase that's available on YouTube if you search SKU Showcase. And we got so much national looks on these companies. It's just really a platform to the companies to introduce what they're doing from a brand perspective to a variety of parties, whether it's investors, which is so key, to the CPG community, to retail partners, brokers, or other experts within the network. And while we have this education, which is probably very familiar to the people calling in who are used to programming and classroom education, I think a huge part of what we bring to these companies is a mentor team. So we have this network of mentors that are located nationally, but a lot here in Austin, that gets paired with each company. So every company has a 5 or 6 person mentor team that works with them through all of their challenges and opportunities. And the companies really end up on the other side just better and with their business model, with where they're going, having direction. So we've had some really strong successes, whether it's Epic Bar that was sold to General Mills, Austin Eastsiders, Cricket shirts, Siete, tortillas, Dude wipes. It was a shocker that was grown so much, especially in COVID. Their sales this year are fantastic. And then Chetty's and some of the brands we have behind us. So it's just a really fun program that has a huge positive spirit and just so much wisdom from the mentors and education from the actual program. It's just a great learning experience. So that's what SKU does. And of course, we interact so much with, Marissa and what she's doing at UT, and then Emily Keeling at Naturally Austin. We are really a joint force in supporting this ecosystem. We just all play in our slightly different parts.
Thanks, Kirsten. Emily, tell us more about Naturally Austin.
Yeah, so we are a trade organization, nonprofit based here in Austin, that has about 500 members, 500 plus members now, that supports those who make local CPG products here in Austin. And we do so by providing networking, resources and education that helps companies grow and thrive. So it really can be ideation stage all the way up to, large growth companies, because everyone still needs that support and networking. And we've proven that with our big Combo Loco competition. We have our big showcase coming up on October 27th. And we paired our members together to collaborate and show us why they make a good Combo Loco like they do at HEB. And so what I think is great about our organization is that collaboration, is that community and the support that we continue to provide. And what's also great is that we are part of a larger network. So it's called the Naturally Network. And we have affiliates across the US in San Diego, San Francisco, Chicago, Boulder, and then New York just dropped online too. So I love working with the Naturally Austin members. We have sponsors that come in and support us and help with webinars and education. I mean, we've done everything from nutrition labeling to supply chain to branding, and watching these members, learn something and grow and thrive and watch their businesses take off is just, it's just so wonderful to watch. So that's kind of Naturally Austin in a nutshell.
Thanks, Emily. So it's my great pleasure to work with both of these extraordinary women and the organizations that they lead from the University of Texas Nutrition Institute. And we really get to work with the earliest stage brands that we see coming out of Texas, whether that's helping scientists commercialize research into new products, which you'll hear from today. Janetta Zaldan is going to tell us about an extraordinary animal protein replacement that she created in her lab. Or if it's young brands that are kicked off by our Longhorn students here on campus through some of the amazing entrepreneurship programs that we get to host here. The Macomb School of Business, of course, has the 40 Acres Founders Program, where any student can apply to start a company and tap into mentorship and the resources that they need to test and validate their product and get market ready, all the way through graduate programming for both food scientists in the making, nutrition students who are interested in the food industry or beverage industries, and then business school students, engineers, designers, you name it. So we're really excited to activate the University of Texas Longhorn community and campus in partnership with both these organizations and kind of kick off a lot of that younger brand and emerging company energy into the networks that Emily and Kirsten both manage. So with that, I want to open up the questions for how to plug in. And it looks like there's a bunch coming through here. So Kirsten, this one's for you. For brands who might not quite hit that 100K mark, do you think going through the application process is still helpful?
I should probably take myself off mute. You would think my 6 hours on Zoom every day would make me an expert. But
We should all be pros at this point.
No, absolutely. So, I mean, for two reasons. One, there are sometimes some brands that are just doing phenomenal things and we're seeing their growth, and they may not be at that revenue threshold yet, but they have a clear line of sight to hitting that. So that is an exception that we make pretty much every year. And then also, it's a great way for us to get to know you. You may not hit that revenue threshold this year, but I might get introduced to you, your brand, your product, and then you're just so top of mind throughout the year. And it just puts you in a better position to being accepted into the program the following year. And we're also doing different initiatives that sometimes we tweak what our criteria is. So, you know, it's just great to be introduced and have awareness of products and brands that are bubbling up.
That's awesome. Piggybacking on that, what are some of your favorite SKU mentor founder stories, Kirsten? And I'll give you a minute to think about that while I actually asked Emily this second question, which is, how much does it cost to be a Naturally Austin member? I know, Emily, we also have a student discount code that we probably want to share, because Naturally Austin has been such an amazing partner with both Longhorn students and alumni that they are discounting membership for Longhorn students. So Emily, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, as I wear my Longhorn orange, you guys, I'm so excited to wear this because
Hey, we're all supposed to wear burnt orange. I'm not, but
I'm so excited. I was thrilled to put this on. Yeah, so it's $65 for a year for members. We try to keep it really cost effective because we want the members to come in and get the education and the resources they need without it being cost prohibitive. So we also do have a discount with University of Texas students, and it's HOOK'em. That's the discount code. It's 20% off. And I can provide that to everybody in the chat here as well. So yeah, HOOK'em, 20% off at naturallyaustin.org. There's a section on how to become a member, and go sign up there. And it's really easy application, and you get right in.
Emily, thank you so much for making that more accessible to our students.
Sure.
So Kirsten, any stories come top of mind on founders and SKU companies?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's one that always bubbles up because it was just one of those things where you saw it play out, just the connections and what mentoring does in this program. So it was a beverage company that went through 2 tracks ago, and they, at our first meeting, had some issues getting their product out to Expo West because it was they needed refrigerated transportation. They're heavy. They only needed like a pallet or 2, and they just couldn't figure out a cost-effective way of doing it. And they logistically had spent days trying to figure out how to get their product from point A to point B. Within our introduction time of our mentors and our companies, one of our mentors runs a logistics company, and he just raised his hand and he was just like, I've got you. I can figure this out. And within 15 minutes, they had their solution, and they had literally spent days trying to figure it out. But this is like the beauty of pairing together brands that are, you know, facing these really common hurdles, and mentors who have cleared these hurdles in the past and that have the answer so readily available. And it just allows the companies to just take one headache off of their plate. Young founders, entrepreneurs, you've got a lot of headaches. And so having that guidance and the expertise from seasoned professionals is just like such a great way for you to move along and get your education and your kind of your tough lessons behind you in a smoother fashion.
Yeah, I just want to chime in on that. As a mentor at SKU, it has been so much fun to jump in and help entrepreneurs who are constantly spending their days just fighting fires. There's always, you know, the next problem to solve. You've got to solve it immediately, and it's critical to the life of your business. And when they're surrounded by advisors in kind of a moment of respite, it's wonderful to kind of jump in and get your hands dirty and roll up your sleeves and help them solve problems that you can, that advisors and mentors have the capability to solve faster because they have the experience or the expertise. And we saw that happen over and over again in the last cohort, certainly, that I was a part of. And the momentum that the entrepreneurs gain is really extraordinary as they see they can tap into expertise that's part of SKU and relieve some of that hard knocks school of learning that they'd otherwise have to go through to figure it out themselves. So in that vein, Kirsten, following up, what's a common mistake that you see companies making before they become a part of SKU, and how do you work through these?
I mean, a mistake's all relative. So, like you said, so much of mistakes is just a learning lesson to try things out. But I do think one area that all brands should focus on and put a lot of time and attention is understanding your business model and the finances that go behind the actual running of your operations and your business.
Yeah, great answer. And this kind of connects us back to Naturally and the resources that you provide, Emily, to so many of the earlier stage startups. You know, prior to being SKU ready, you have an amazing host of resources. So there's a question here: does Naturally Austin have a directory of resources for new brands?
Well, we actually, if you go to naturallyaustin.org, we have a whole section of resources that is everything we've covered in the past year. We've had to pivot pretty hard, just like Kirsten, and do everything online, as you guys have as well. So we actually do have a directory, and it's really what I try to do with our members is work with them individually and see like, what do you need and where can I guide you? Because we have all these wonderful sponsors, right? They're a part of our network and our ecosystem. And so I like to hear their problems and say, hey, I think you should really go talk to this person or talk to this person. Sometimes it's go talk to Kirsten, go talk to Marissa. So it really is what problems you have. That's the beauty of the network. And I think the other really great part is that we do have this network across the US. So in case I need something in Boulder or Chicago, I can call on those people. And that's really great because we can activate the entire network if we need to for a person. And that's the value that we bring with our membership.
Yeah, so I think there's extraordinary and unique value that together in tandem, SKU and Naturally both offer. And I'd love for y'all each to speak to that. How do the two organizations interplay? And is there a benefit to being involved with both at an early stage? And as you think about it, I want to tell a quick story of one of our cohort 8 members from SKU last year. One of the co-founders of this company was actually in my MBA program last year over the fall. And as she got more and more immersed and exposed to what was happening in Austin and our community here, everything from other emerging brands, other entrepreneurs, investors, the CPG capital, the family of CPG capital and investors that live here and that are really interested in propelling these brands, she talked her co-founder into relocating their business to Austin that holiday season. So class was dismissed for the semester. They came back in January. They landed here. They joined Naturally Austin, spent the entire spring going through tapping into the Naturally network, and got into the SKU cohort 8 and was off to the races and running. And now they are market ready. They are selling. It's been less than a year later that they got their feet under them and got the company off the ground. And so it's really amazing to see like how quickly in our community you can go from ideation and maybe a product in your kitchen to being in retail by tapping into these organizations. So Emily, Kirsten, speak a little bit more to how you feel this interplay works.
Kirsten, do you mean? Yeah,
I can speak. I feel like we are so lockstep in what we do. I feel like Emily and Naturally Austin is just such a great way to meet a lot of people. So many different organizations get drawn into the Naturally network. There's programming, there's meetup opportunities, they do a showcase day. And I think where our organizations get so much traction together is we do joint events. I feel like naturally it's for the membership, just come, apply, be there. SKU is a little bit more selective in the term that you have to apply, and we have a specific cohort and very specific mentors that surround you. So we're in lockstep when it comes to most of what we do. We're actually doing a joint program together this spring, and that's just kind of showing that there's a lot of resources. I would say Naturally Network is great. It's national. It has, it's open to all. SKU is just going to be more selective for really just the acceleration of a company.
And I think too, what I like about this is that it is kind of this unique system that we have set up here in Austin, where it is you start here with the ideation, and then you move into Naturally Austin, which is like the big tent that has all the education and resources and networking you can imagine. And then you start to get more refined, and as you start to work on your product and it starts to get there, then you get onto SKU, and then you take off. So I love that we have this three-pronged approach here, only in Austin, where obviously innovation is so huge, not in tech, but here in CPG, that we've kind of figured this out. So that's the beauty of this whole system that we have set up, and I'm really excited to see how it continues to grow.
Yeah, it's really special. So getting to brass tacks on how you plug in, walk us through, Kirsten, what the SKU application timeline we're in the middle of right now. And then Emily, tell us about this awesome new partnership between that we're launching in the spring to elevate and expand the opportunity for entrepreneurship in CPG.
Yeah, Kirsten, you may take that one. Yes, we are launching a diversity and inclusion initiative, hopefully in the spring of next year, that really provides ongoing education for minority-owned companies. The idea is that we provide this education, and then it moves into a track with SKU. And the idea is that they do not take any equity this round, and this will really help elevate minority-owned brands and companies. And what's really exciting is that the community of Austin and beyond has really gotten behind this and gotten really excited. And what I love is that through this sponsorship, the thing we've heard the most is, I want to mentor. And that just tells me what our community is all about. Like, how much can I mentor? Where do I sign up to mentor on either Naturally Austin or SKU? And so we're getting these new mentors, and Kirsten just spoke about the power of mentorship. And so I love that this community is rallied around this idea, and that they not only want to help sponsor it, but then spend their time spreading the education that they have and the expertise that they have, these minority-owned companies, to really help elevate them and take them to the next level.
Yeah, we're so excited about this initiative. It's doing something that's really needed in this community and building on the backbone of the programming that's already established and the needs there. So that's happening in the spring. We're still working out specific dates and times for the application, but what we do know is that the Austin Track 9 SKU program, the applications are open. They'll be closing at the end of this month, and that track is going to be running from January to May of next year. And we had to pivot last year to a virtual program about March. And, we finished out the balance of that program 100% virtually. We've run a track in Minneapolis virtually, in Dallas-Fort Worth from a hybrid perspective, and we're just hoping that we're able to continue to run the Austin program with a little bit of a hybrid perspective, but definitely accessible virtually if that's where people's comforts are. And, we'll just continue to be nimble, like all of the entrepreneurs have to be, in making sure that we bring forth the best program. But it's the content and the mentors, as Emily was talking about, that really just creates so much value and helps the company, whether it's virtually or in person.
Yeah. Any big plans as you both think about moving to a virtual platform? I mean, Kirsten, watching you do this past spring was was extraordinary, and pitch day was awesome. Every piece of it was still so vibrant, very characteristic of the SKU community. What is it gonna look like this year? And then Emily, same question to you. What's Naturally Austin going to look like virtually this year?
Well, we got so much a positive response from doing our virtual showcase, where, I think so many organizations had patted themselves on the back being like, we've got an attendance of 300 or 500 in person. Isn't that great? And we all were scratching our heads like what the metrics we would look for success would be when we turned it to a virtual program, especially the bigger events in the showcase. And so when we did the virtual showcase, we were able to track so many views. It reached such a national audience because we were able to pump it out and promote it through Nosh BevNet and a lot of industry publications. And we saw so much inbound interest into the program and into specifically the companies that were running. And so I don't think we're going to ever give up this whole virtual showcase and launch of our companies, because we saw so much benefit to having that be there. But of course, you never want to lose the intimacy. So, if it, we're hoping for Dallas Fort Worth, we'll be able to have like a watch party for our virtual event, just so the mentors and the key individuals are able to come together, but not losing the fact that putting it out on a virtual platform actually creates just a lot of eyeballs on the companies that are going through the program that have worked so hard.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, and I will say Naturally Austin and SKU in August did a virtual happy hour. So what was missing for us was I just missed talking to people. I love webinars, but I really wanted to have a drink and talk with people. And so we did this really great event where we sent out some booze to people, and we had a little lounge area, and then we did individual breakout sessions with mentors in each of the rooms based off subject matter expertise. And what we found was that people really were yearning for that connection, and it was so special and so fun. And I have not laughed that much in a long time, and it was really great to see our community come together, because that's what we're about. Our big event is we turned it away from a pitch slam, not focusing on competition this year, more about collaboration. That's on October 27th. We are going to announce the winning duo from the Combo Loco competition. But after that, we're going to move into a happy hour, and we're going to have those breakout rooms again, and everyone gets to go and sit, and we're delivering boxes again. So you have that experience again with, with obviously trying snacks and drinks at home, and really getting to experience what our CPG community is about. And so we'll be doing that again. So we'll continue to do virtual things too, because I agree with Kirsten that having to pivot, and we hold like 35 in-person events a year or something crazy, right? Yeah. That we know it's going to continue on into the spring and the summer, but I don't think we'll ever lose this virtual aspect of it again. I think we'll be a blend going forward for sure.
Well, on that inspiring and hopeful note, I want to thank both of you for spending a quick bit of your morning with us, sharing more about what you're up to and what you're forecasting for this coming year. Everyone in the audience, please don't hesitate to connect. We'll be sending out links in that discount code, the application deadlines, the Naturally Austin event date, in follow-up, so make sure to pay attention to Q&A. We'll also pop in some answers to the questions we didn't get to regarding how these organizations work and how to plug in. And then definitely head to their websites right now and sign up to stay in touch with them so that you can get into their newsletters and be aware of all the amazing things that they're launching. Emily, Kirsten, always a pleasure. Thank you both so much for being part of Taste of Texas.
Thank you.
Marissa, thank you.